Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to take a deep dive into one of the most critical aspects of modern infrastructure: how to design, build, and automate the deployment of Springboot microservices on AWS EKS cluster with full monitoring in place. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how to structure your infrastructure, automate your CI/CD pipeline, and set up full monitoring using industry standard tools. What you will learn in this video. So, what exactly are we going to cover in this video? First, GitHub repository design. So I will show you how to structure your GitHub repo for better code organization and reusability. We will ensure that infrastructure components are clearly separated so that changes to one component don't impact others. Designing or deploying our infrastructure. We often hear a lot about how to design applications, but not enough about how to design infrastructure. In this video, we will focus on how to design infrastructure that is scalable, maintainable, and support your microservices efficiently. We will be using the custom Helm chart for deploying our microservices that ensure consistency and ease of management. We will also use the reusable GitHub workflows for our automated CI/CD process to streamline deployments across environments. And at the end, we will be integrating the monitoring tools for real time monitoring and alert manager for setting up proactive alerts. So, who all are audience for this video? So, this video is for everyone, whether you are a beginner or experienced. This video will help you understand how to plan and deploy applications on AWS EKS from scratch. You will learn how to create an EKS cluster in an automated way with all the standards in place and deploy microservices effectively. For all the DevOps people, if you are working in DevOps, you know how complex infrastructure design can be. So, this video will help you understand why DevOps roles are so critical and how to implement industry best practices for organizations. So, this video will give you insights into how DevOps engineers approach infrastructure design and automation, which will help improve your deployment efficiency. So, to make this possible, we will be using a powerful combination of tools: Terraform for infrastructure as code, GitHub Actions for automating our CI/CD pipelines, Helm for Kubernetes package management, EKS cluster with managed node group, Prometheus, Grafana, and Alert Manager for monitoring, visualization, and alerts, Docker for containerization, and ECR, Elastic Container Registry, to store our Docker images. So before we move into the detail of each of the section, I wanted to show you how our final product will look once everything is deployed. So here you can see we have developers, DevOps engineers. They are pushing code to the GitHub repositories that we will be creating, and using GitHub Actions, we will be deploying the Terraform and Helm commands to create this whole infrastructure. And this is like EKS cluster, which is in private subnet, so we are secure. We will be deploying everything inside the private subnets. And here you can see we are installing all the monitoring tools. We are installing our Kubernetes services, also using different GitHub actions. And we will have a AWS ALB controller to create or to manage our ingress objects and create load balancer, which will have AWS certificate manager to ensure that our website is secure. So we will be using that for that. And then ultimately we will have the Route 53 record also, so that any client can access our URL on the browser, which will point to your load balancer, and your load balancer ultimately pointing to your Kubernetes services which are running inside Kubernetes EKS cluster. We will also have this Prometheus and Grafana that can also be accessible via internet using these below URLs. So once we have the infrastructure deployed successfully, we should be able to hit these URLs and this client URLs also. And this particular video, because this is created for the demo perspective, this is accessible on internet for everyone, but you have option like using security groups. You can just have it to access only from your IP or only accessible from certain client VPN access. So you can do all those configurations as well, but for now with this video the URL will be accessible on the internet because it is open for everything. So, we have discussed the high level overview of our infrastructure. Let's dive into one of the most important aspect of any scalable deployment is GitHub repository design. Proper repository design is critical when you are working with Kubernetes and microservices, especially when you want to keep your infrastructure organized, scalable, and easy to maintain. So, why repository design matters? So, when you are dealing with a modern microservice architecture, you have to think not just about microservice themselves, but also about the infrastructure that supports them. For example, if you have an EKS cluster that is not tied to any one microservice, it is a shared resource using by multiple microservices. That is why separating infrastructure from application code is essential. It makes your setup more modular, easier to manage, and more scalable. Now let's talk about type of repositories that we have designed for this demo. So first, let's talk about the infrastructure repository. That is where you define and manage all your core AWS infrastructure components using Terraform. That includes VPC, EKS cluster, ACM, all your monitoring tools. There is no relation of this infrastructure with your microservices. Microservices is only consuming this infrastructure. So we have separated out and created it in a different repositories. Different CI/CD process will be created for this repo as well. Next, let's talk about the Helm chart repositories. So, if you have worked with Kubernetes, you know that Helm is a package manager for Kubernetes. It allows you to define, install, and upgrade even complex Kubernetes applications using Helm chart. So in this repo, we will create a reusable Helm chart that will define all your deployment configurations, ingress configurations, auto scaling, everything you will define related to your Kubernetes deployment in this Helm chart. And why you want to have it separate? Because we want to make sure that all our microservices follow a similar pattern, a consistent deployment pattern. We don't want any services to have their own chart, which is very difficult to maintain in future whenever you need to do the update. So we have created a separate Helm chart repo that allow us to centralize the chart and version it properly. Whenever we need to update the chart, like any changing deployment template or any new things you wanted to, you only need to update it at one place if you are changing at the template level. And once the Helm chart is published, any microservice can refer it using the chart URL during deployment. And you can also do the versioning of your Helm chart to make it more secure or to make it more error free, so that if your newer version has issues, you have an option to roll back to the previous version. Now let's talk about your actual microservice repositories. So in this example, I am taking only three microservices: hello, word, and client service. And each microservices will have normal their source code, the Docker file, and the GitHub Actions workflow to do the CI/CD part. So why we keep them separate? So because we want microservices should be independently deployable, and each service can have its own life cycle, scaling policies, and configurations. And if you need to update or roll back one service, it won't affect the other one. So that is the reason we keep all the microservices separate. Now, the most important part, the reusable GitHub workflows. Why do we really need it? So, this is very powerful, the reusable GitHub workflow. So, in this example, we just have three microservices. But in real world scenarios, you could have 20, 50, 100, or even more. And the CI CD process, like building Docker images, pushing to ECR, deploying to EKS, all the steps will be identical across all microservices. So why do we want to copy paste the same workflow file across every repositories? That is inefficient and very hard to maintain. Because of that reason, we have created a separate repositories for reusable GitHub Actions workflows. So you have your reusable workflows, and then any microservice can just simply refer these workflows. So in future, if you have to ever update your CI process, like I want to include the Sonar Cube now for static code analysis, you just update the workflow in one place and all microservices will pick up the change automatically. And that is the true power of DevOps automation. Why this approach works? So by separating out infrastructure, Helm chart, microservices into different repositories, you achieve scalability, reusability, flexibility, and maintainability. Benefit of this design: clean separation of infrastructure and application code, easy updates and version control for your Helm chart, centralized monitoring and scaling policies, reusable CI/CD pipelines to eliminate repetitive work, and faster development cycles and fewer deployment issues. Now let's start with the first part, which is designing the infrastructure repository. I have created a repo called Springboot Common Infrastructure to manage all our shared infrastructure for our EKS cluster. Let me walk you through how I have structured it and why I made certain design decisions. So, this repository, as you can see, is divided into multiple folders based on the components. And this is important because we want to separate out all the concerns and avoid dependencies between unrelated components. So, when you are designing your repository, this is the first part. You need to find out first how many resources you need for your shared infrastructure. So, in this case, we need EKS cluster, we need VPC, we need to install some Prometheus, and we need some Route 53 records at high level. So you need to decide which all resources should be combined into one or work as a one component, and which one we need to separate it out. So in this example, let's first talk about VPC. So the VPC configuration is completely independent of the EKS cluster. Tomorrow, if I want to modify anything on my VPC, like adding new subnets or change anything, I can do that without affecting or without even worrying about the EKS cluster, because I have a separate dedicated folder for VPC. And when I'm talking about the folders, these all folders have a different Terraform state files also per environment. So like here you can see for the dev, I have this backend configuration. So all backend configurations are separate based on the folder and also across environments. So there is no relation with the folders and with the environments. Everything is separate. And similar, we have the EKS. So this folder is for creating the EKS cluster. It has all the details that is required for your EKS cluster, like your managed nodes, which nodes you need, all the add-ons that is critical for your EKS cluster, access management, how you will providing access to your EKS cluster, EBS volumes because we need storage, everything we have in this particular folder which is related to our EKS cluster. And similarly, we have the folders for the environments, and in their backend configurations, you can see it is for EKS.tf state. And in this example, I'm just showing dev and test, but you can have multiple environments. So you are using the same code, but providing the variables or values or maintaining the state files for environment differently. And this actually gives you the option to provide any values according to the environments also. Like in dev, I wanted to go with this instance type this, but in production, I wanted the big one. So you have all those options, easily customizable. And if I just show you one of the code and show how I am naming the resources also. So here you can see I'm calling this module, but cluster name, you can see variable project, variable environment. So this is like following some standards. So it would be creating like I have put the project as EKS, so EKS hyphen dev. So later on, whenever I have to reference that EKS cluster, it is very easy for me. I know this is the standard that I can use it. So that is the benefit of using all the variables with the proper naming convention so that you can reuse or use it at other places without worrying about what was the name of that. So similarly, if I go to some I might have created properly, right? EKS ALB ingress controller. Like right now, if I have not put this name, next time when this code run for test, it will not work. It will say that it is already exist. So make sure that you follow the proper standards. So this is what we did, VPC, EKS, and then this monitoring. This is for your installing Prometheus, Grafana, Alert Manager. So, so for that, we are creating a separate folder because there is no relation with the EKS cluster. So later on or whenever you have to update anything in your monitoring, it will not impact your EKS cluster, and it has the similar setup as well. And then this ACM, this is very simple. It has just one simple resource of creating the ACM certificate and do the DNS validation in an automated way so that we can access the URL on the browser without doing anything. So this is simple. And one thing I wanted to mention about the providers. So if you look at the providers, first, default tags. So all my resources will have this tag. I can add more tags as per the requirement, but this would help you to identify which all resources are part of which environments and if they are created by Terraform or not. Then I have some Helm configurations, kubectl configuration as needed. And here you can see version. So I am allowing any minor updates, but my major version will remain same. So this is considered as one of the best practice of Terraform to ensure that you don't update your major version in an automated way, because major version lot of times have some breakable changes that can break your Terraform, break your CI/CD cycles. So it's better that you do the upgrade when you want to do that, when you have run all the pre-checks and it is compatible with your code. So I'm using 5.0 here. So now we have designed our repositories. We have created the separate out folders. Now we need to decide how to do the deployment. So for that, I have created this folder deployment GitHub workflow to deploy this infrastructure. So this infrastructure, because each folder is managed separately. So we need to design in such a way that it allow the separate deployments as well. So here you can see that I have put in the push, I have put all the paths that you have to do, and even for the pull request. This is simple. You need AWS access keys. And then we are using this Dorney path filter, which is an action that is used to find out which folder has changed. So this is how you can use it, filters. And here again you have to put all the filters of related to your folders. So these are the three things that you have to ensure that you do it. This is like a manual part. You update it according to your folder. Then you started with your job. This needs changes is your this job. And then we are using the matrix because we have a multiple environments also. And here you can see if this is how you get the output of this particular action. So this action we are checking if anything has changed, then only run it. If nothing has changed, it will just skip this because there are no folder change. And after that we are just setting up the max parallel one. We wanted one job to run at a time. And we are setting the working directory also in an automated way. So here you can see matrix name, and this is the name, and this is what our working directory also. So this would be your VPC, ACM, EKS, like that. So this is the main part. Once you get it, it's a very simple, like you configure your AWS credentials, set up Terraform, init, validate, plan, and apply. Very simple. And here you are seeing you are providing the matrix.environment also, because each of your folder has these. So this code is scalable. Whenever you are ready with your next environment, what you have to do in your matrix environment, you just have to add multiple environments there. That is the only thing that you have to do. If your environment is in different account, you might need to do little bit more changes, but Moreover, this code will work for multiple environments. Now we will run our GitHub workflow and create this infrastructure. One thing I wanted to mention, if you are looking for details how this infrastructure is created and what all these Terraform resources are doing, I have a proper EKS beginners tutorials that you can follow. In this particular video, I am not going into the details of each of the Terraform configuration. Once you run this Terraform code, it will create the EKS cluster, making sure that it has ALBs, ingress controller setup, all the EBS volumes so that you can use the storage, all the add-ons, ACM resources, and the Prometheus Grafana alert managers installed and accessible on the browser. So this code will do everything in just one go. So now we will do the deployment of this infrastructure. So what I have done, I have just created this one simple PR and just change one of the variable because there is no workflow dispatch. I cannot run it manually, and it actually check which folder has changed, and based on that it will trigger the deployment. Okay. So because of that reason, this is simple, almost no changes. I will just merge this PR. So I am just merging this. And now if you go to the action, you should be able to see that it is finding all the changes. So here you can see how does it look like. So here you can see filter VPC true, ACM true. So it has find all these details and changes output set to this. So this is like array, and that is what we are passing when we are saying that matrix name is VPC, and this is how it is doing it. And right now it is just running for dev. So now you can see the Terraform plan 23, and now it is creating it. So this whole Terraform, as soon as it runs and it completed successfully, we should be able to access the monitoring because that is the only thing that is deployed right now. Like Prometheus, you should be able to access it on browser. So let's just wait and then we'll continue once this GitHub workflow completes successfully. Now you can see our job is successfully completed. So it has created VPC, it has created certificate manager, EKS cluster, and the Prometheus alert manager, all the monitoring tools. And if I log in, right, prometheus.dev.devops for solutions. So here you can see that this is secure HTTPS, and everything is configured with just that job. And now your infrastructure is ready, and it is ready to support your microservices deployment now. And if you go to here target health, you can see currently we do not have any pods running. These are only load balancer controllers that has installed as part of our initial infrastructure. It has created the load balancer, listener rules, everything. And if I open this and I will show you the load balancer and just see how does it look like. If I go to load balancer, it created with this name, and you can see that it has a proper listener rules like Grafana, Prometheus, go to this target group, and if it is Prometheus, go to this target group. So we are not creating different load balancers. It is just one load balancer that we are using for the monitoring tools, and that is how it looks like. And if I go to that EKS, so let's just go to Elastic Kubernetes Services and go to this cluster. So you can see it has created this cluster. And if I go to compute, it has created one node because we have provided only one node. And if we go to add-ons, you can see it has installed core DNS, EKS pod identity, kube proxy, EBS, that is for storage, VPC, CNI. So these are the 5 add-ons that I have installed as part of the initial infrastructure. So now we have our shared infrastructure created successfully. What is our next part? Now we need to deploy our microservices. So before we go into the deployment of microservices, first let's consider our Helm chart repositories, because we need the Helm chart to deploy our microservices. So I have created this Springboot Helm chart repositories, and here I have my Helm chart and all the templates. You can do the configurations, you can create more templates, create more Kubernetes resources, but this is the base template. So I have just put like this is one of my chart, Spring Boot, and using GitHub Actions, I have a proper automated process that will create the Helm chart that I should be able to access it and use it for my microservice deployment. So this is their Helm chart action, and I'm just providing the chart directory and the secret, that is the GitHub token. And when I run this, it has this GH pages already created, and then it is creating this index.yaml. So here you can see version 0.50, 0.4, 0.1.4. So it is updating this index.yaml file as you are updating your chart versions. And then when you are referring those chart, you can provide which version you want to refer for your microservices. So this is helpful when it comes to, and so this is helpful when it comes to uh, update your chart, and in case if you have to revert to the original previous one, you have to just update your version from 0.1.5 to 0.1.4. So that is one of the benefit of Spring Boot Helm charts also. Now that we have met all the prereq for microservice deployment, let's move forward. So now for the microservice deployment, I have created separate repos. So here you can see I have created one for hello service, word service, client service. So if your application has other microservices also, like more than 3, you will just create a separate repo for each of your microservices. So now let's go to one of this EKS hello service. It's a basic hello world type of service, and we have enabled the Prometheus matrix also in the code. So here you can see in the source folder, it's a very simple hello Java, and in the controller file, you can see that I have enabled the matrix also, that is based on the documentation of the Prometheus, how you can enable the matrix for the Spring Boot application. So I have done that so that Prometheus can scrap matrix for this service, and we can see it on Grafana, or we can set the alerts based on all those metrics. So this is very simple Java application. So you'll just have the source folder and you will put the code over there. Now the next part is you need to do the deployment of this microservice. So for that we are using Terraform for this demo. So here you can see that in the each of the microservice folder repo, we will be creating this Terraform folder. And in this Terraform folder, you will manage it, or you will organize it for all your environments also. So in this, I'm just taking example of dev test. You can create folders as per your environment's requirement. And now if I click on dev, here we are storing our backend configurations, like where our Terraform state file will go. So that is our backend configuration. And then we have the Terraform TFVAR files. So here you can provide the environment specific variables. In this demo, we just have this environment dev, that's it. But you can have more variables based on your application requirement. So that is your terraform.tf and this is your hello.yaml file, which is basically that your Helm will be using to deploy your application. So that is also you are setting it at environment level, and you are setting like the replica count as 1 and the image. Then you are providing your ECR repo and the tag, because the tag is the dynamic, so we are using we are using it in this way so that we can provide the dynamic tag. And in this particular demo, we are using the GitHub SHA as the image tag. And now this is the service cluster IP, and this is pod annotation. So this is important for Prometheus metrics. So based on this configuration in your YAML file, it will scrap the metrics from your microservices. And then we have enabled the ingress, which means it will create the load balancer and provided all the annotations. So here you can see we have the internet facing ALBs, target type is IP, and then you are providing your health check path because my microservices has path slash hello. And then group name, you are providing it the load balancer name. So if you don't provide any load balancer, it will automatically create it with the random name. So instead of using the random name, I have provided it in this way. And the certificate ARN, because we wanted to make sure that our website or the URL has SSL. So we are attaching the ACM also to our load balancer. So this is basically the annotations that is required for that. And then the host that we will be accessing on the browser, you can provide the name whatever you have it, but this is how it should be. And the path, and this would be your basically target in the load balancer, your listener rules condition. So based on this whole host, it will get a redirect to this particular target group that will get created using this YAML configuration. And now this is liveness prob, simple basic configurations Helm that is required. So now this is our, and that you can define it for all your environments differently. In this example, I'm just doing dev, but you can create more folders as needed. And then in your main.tf, so what we have to do, we need to do the deployment. So for that we are using the Helm, and here you can see I have just created this Helm release resource, and this is where the repo, so we discussed this repo, and that is what we are using it, providing the chart name and the version that we will be deploying. So this is where you can actually update, you can change it to the newer version, or if you have to revert it, you can do that also. And the namespace you are providing it. And values file, so this is where you are providing your template file. So you are providing it your path, and then environment, based on the environment, it will read your values file. And if in your YAML file or in your values file, if there are any variables that are dynamic like environment, so I'm providing it in this way, and the ACM, so I'm providing the values like this. And the image tag, as I said, I'm providing the container version, and my container version is GitHub SHA, that is coming from the GitHub workflow that I will show you. But this is how it is, just a simple resource to do the deployment. And then in your data.tf, we will have just EKS cluster authentication and the ACM certificate that we are using for our load balancer. And this record, I have commented out this particular section as of right now, because when you are running this Terraform, this load balancer might not be ready at that time. So because it takes time when you are running it through Helm, so you can put more conditions also there, wait for the load balancer to be ready. But for now, I'm just commenting out this code and just run it. So I have just put this here and just do it here. So what happened, it will just not create it will not just yeah, this is how it should be. The only thing, it will not create the route 53 record, that you can create it manually also, or you can just add it later also, or there are options you can manage the DNS records different at different places as well. So this is same across all our microservices. The only thing that might be differ is the values file, the name, the name of the host, these things will change. But other than that, everything will remain same for all your microservices. So now for the deployment, so I'm using the GitHub workflow, and here you can see, So if you have more than one microservices, you don't want to write your code multiple times. So in this example, you can see I'm using the concept of reusable workflow, because your microservice need build part, right? This is your build part which will actually build your application and push it to ECR. That is your one part. And the second part is a Terraform deployment, where it will actually do the deployment on an EKS cluster. So instead of writing that code at multiple places, it's better to create to use the reusable workflow and then pass the values as per your microservices like this. So here you can see when you have to use it, you provide your repo where your reusable workflow is present, and then you are providing all the arguments that is required for your microservices and the secrets you are providing, and same for the Terraform, you are providing all these details. So in this example, you can see it's very easy and it's very clean. And uh, in case you have to update any of your workflow, you have to just update it here. So now let me just go to my workflow. How does it look like? So here you can see I have created this repo, GitHub reusable workflows. And in this I have the ci.yaml file. So here you can see, because this is a reusable workflow, this is how it should be: workflow call, and then you are providing the input. So whatever inputs your application, your workflow need, you put it like this. And even you can have the required or not required. Based on that, you can set all these arguments. And then it's a simple job, right? I mean, we are doing the Maven build and push, build with Maven, upload artifact, you are configuring AWS credentials, ECR, and then publish, right? So this is simple. But now what are the advantage of using the reusable workflow? I don't need to write this code multiple times. And later on, if I have to update the Java, suppose go from 11 to 17, I just have to do it at one place instead of multiple places. And right now in this code, I don't integrate the unit testing, Sonar, Cube, anything. So we can add it at later point, but only at one place you need to do it. So that is the beauty of using reusable workflow, and that is very useful, very helpful. And try to have your code clean, because you don't need to have the same code at multiple places. So this is your ci.yaml file, and this is your cd.yaml file, which is also very similar on workflow call. And then you are providing all the inputs which are required, like here you can see the container version you are providing. And um, and then that's it, right? Terraform init, your backend configuration, Terraform plan, and then you are doing the Terraform apply. So that is your GitHub reusable workflow. Now if we go there, and here you can see for the image tag we are using the GitHub SHA. So now for this hello service, I wanted to do the deployment. So you can just update this. I'll just do the empty commit. And now this will do the deployment in an automated way on the dev environment. Where did I put? Okay, so now we will just run the workflow. So let me just click on workflow, because I have this workflow dispatch also. So we'll just run the workflow manually. And now this workflow will first do the build part, that is Maven build and push, and then it will do the Terraform deployment. And as part of the Terraform deployment, it will create a new load balancer, because we have provided that. And it will set the listener rules and listener rules properly according to your host name. So here you can see that now it is doing the Helm release and creating this new load balancer and deploying this microservices on our EKS cluster. And here you can see all the details related to your load balancer also. So it shows that it's completed. So now let's go back to your AWS console, and here if I just refresh it, first thing you will see that it has created this target group, and you can see that it has associated it with this load balancer also. This is all because of your ingress annotations. And here you can see it is just target registration. Soon it will be healthy. And now if I go to load balancer, here you can see that it has created this, but it is still in provisioning state. So that is the reason I was saying that I have commented out that record route 53 record, because the load balancer is not active, but your job is getting completed. To resolve that problem, you can write some script to just check the status of your load balancer, and until that active, you'll not just use that load balancer. But for this demo purpose, I am not going into that direction. But this is how it looks like, and here you can see it has attached the certificate also. And for the port 80, it is redirecting, and for 443 you can see it has created these two roles. So based on your http host header, it will go there, and the path pattern is this. So just to test it, you just need to create a route 53 record to test it. But for now, what we will do, we will deploy our another service. So now if I go to my EKS word service, so this is my EKS word service, and this is similar code, no changes. The only thing, this code is all same. The only thing that has changed here is, you can see I'm not providing more related details related to the ACM and all, because that load balancer is already created, and now I am using this group name my app 1. So this microservice will use that load balancer, so we don't need to provide it. And other than that, we are just changing the host here. So now let me do the deployment. I will go to the action and click on run workflow. Okay, so now you can see that we have deployed the word service also successfully. And if I look on the listener rules, you can see that it has created one more listener rules for this service. And because it has created the Route 53 record for this service, you can see hello from word service. Now similarly, we have the client service, which is actually calling hello and the word service. So we will see the difference. Now if I go to EKS client service, this is also has a similar setup, but the only difference is in the values file. And here you can see this is all similar as word service. The only thing is, because it is calling hello service and word service, so this is how we are calling those two services. So now let's just do the deployment for this service also. So now if I go there, click and run workflow. So while this is running, I just wanted to show you this looks all good. And if you go to the target group, you should be able to see everything is healthy. And when you are seeing names like this, it means it is auto generated name. And now, like if I show to my Prometheus, so here you can see previously we were just able to see only two pods. Now if I go to Kubernetes pods, you can see that it has created this hello service pod also. Yeah, and the word service pod also. And we have configured the alerts. If pod not running, we will get alert. If pod restarted more than twice, you will get alert. So we have set up all these alerts also, but you can create more alerts as per your requirement. But this is how it looks like. And once this is done, you should be able to see this third listener rules is created. And here you can see that we are using just one load balancer for all our microservices, which saves a lot of money, because creating one load balancer for one service is a huge. So we are just using one for all of them. So you can just create 50, 60 microservices per ALB, and this is how those looks like. And here you can see now, yeah, you can see client.dev, it has created this also. And for that, there is no path header, path pattern. So as soon as I click on this, you should be able to see the message like hello from hello service and hello from word service. But before that, just check if our instance is healthy. And now we just check it out. So here you can see, and you see everything is secure, also connection is secure. We have the HTTP, hello from hello service, hello from word service. And in the route 53, just wanted to show you, so we have this one hosted zone, and here you can see that it is creating the entries. You don't see for the hello, right? Because we have commented out the code. And not all your microservices need a URL. So if they don't need it, you don't need to create a record. But simply, it's a very simple record, just the URL and point it to your load balancer. So that is how it looks like. So to conclude our this video, you can see that we have followed everything to create this whole AWS architecture using complete automation. We have used Terraform, Helm, GitHub Actions, and created all this infrastructure in an automated way. Using this base code, you can actually enhance it to work it for multiple environments, use the PR workflows for merging into the master branch. So you can follow all the DevOps practices also for this particular demo. But using this demo, you should be able to access the main URL on the browser. You should be able to access the Prometheus and Grafana, and you can set more alerts as needed. You can do more customization. All code is in IAC, so you can write more code as well. Thank you.